Hey guys, I have a really exciting game on Indigenous education. Do you want to play?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's play the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we play the game?
Okay, so the point of the game is to get to the finish line first by answering a series of questions. You each have to pick a card, pick a player, and then ultimately pick the cards. After you have done that, if you answer the question correctly, then you move the number and color of squares. If you answer incorrectly, then you stay where you are. Good luck.
Okay, so I'll start. Diabetes is prevalent in Indigenous communities. What percentage of the Indigenous population currently has it? I believe it's 3%.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Awesome. Yep. So I've got a blue card. So I move one blue.
What two areas does that NAPLAN test assess? History, literacy, numeracy, or geography? Literacy and numeracy? Two green squares.
In NAPLAN tests, Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander students are asked to identify themselves. True or false? I believe it is true they do have to identify themselves.
Correct.
Two yellows, 1 and 2. I'm winning.
Who was the first Indigenous Australian to win an Olympic gold medal? Nova Perisneva?
Correct.
Two blue squares.
Okay, two yellow squares. Education has an implication on health. True or false? Education has an implication on health. Yes, it does. So two yellow squares. 1, 2, back in the lead.
What does the Aboriginal word for koala mean? Bear?
No, it means to drink.
You don't get to advance. Okay, two oranges. How many Indigenous languages exist still today? More than 100 or be less than 100? I believe it's somewhere around 60, so I think less than 100.
Correct.
1, 2.
You drew Noel Pearson, a successful Indigenous barrister and lands right activist. Move to his square. Ha! I'm in the lead.
Not for long, mate. Stress has no impact on how you learn. True or false? One blue. True, it does have an impact. Only one. Okay. What's it?
Belonging and community are essential to Indigenous social identity. True or false? True.
It is true.
Two green squares.
Two green. You win.
Ha!
Critical pedagogy was used as the guiding principle in our group's game design so that students could learn to think critically about the ongoing social justice issue of the inequality of access to education as experienced by Indigenous students. To develop critical thinking in students, question cards was the medium in which students could both discuss the topics addressed in the questions and also discover their level of understanding about the Indigenous community. In doing so, our group concurred that this would open students up to new concepts that may have been previously unknown to them, while also encouraging them to think about the current policies and schemes within schools which made cater for some students and not others. The question cards in our game were delivered in 4 formats: multiple choice, true or false, discussion questions, and factual statements. This was partly motivated by our assumption that students would become bored with the same question format. However, it also served the purpose of raising students' social awareness about the disadvantages Indigenous students face within schools. Using critical race theory as the framework reference, this served to open students up to the idea of racial exclusion existing in the political, economic, and educational realms, more specifically pertaining to Indigenous people. The design of our game applied critical race theory through the use of question cards, which encouraged students to question elements of the education system. Furthermore, by playing the game, students can develop a deeper understanding of what it would feel like to be disadvantaged, so that they could empathise with students who have been marginalised. Using questions such as what does NAPLAN test for and what is the percentage of Indigenous people who complete Year 12, this serves to expose the faults in the current educational system and encourages students to question why this could be the case. A potential limitation to our game was that it could affect students' cognitive load, as students are flooded with a series of questions in a limited amount of time. However, it was our group's assumption that there would be a discussion session at the end of the game, giving students an opportunity to discuss what they have learned. In order to win the game, players must progress from the start to finish line along the coloured squares. Players must answer a series of questions which pertain to education as experienced by Indigenous peoples. To avoid instilling a negative theme surrounding Indigenous students' access to education, idol cards were used to recognise Indigenous people's accomplishments as a result of overcoming the barriers prevalent in the education system. This not only served to recognise the faults within the education system, but it also teaches students about the significant impact education can have in creating a better future for an individual's life.